Hi, hello, it is me, your least favorite Drag Race content creator, Jer. We are talking All-Stars 3 and our multi-part what if the Drag Race universe got restructured to make things a little more streamlined, balanced, what have you. That original video will be in the playlist before if you're catching this and you're like, what are we talking about? Go back. It'll be there. Come back to this one. It all makes sense later. For the last 2 seasons, I am sure that people have been a little gagged, gooped in, gaped over some of my opinions, but we are going to be in for some more. As a reminder, for every season going forward, these are going to be judged according to my tastes and preferences as I make some really big swings on what I think would happen with these performers in these challenges. I am not taking runways into consideration because that is another huge can of worms that I just don't have the time to unpack. I'm judging based off of what we've seen in similar challenges or in the original challenges to try and decide where everyone would fall. Additionally, I am not going to be speaking on behalf of any queen and how they would have judged. These seasons will be judged as a top all-star and a bottom 2 that will lip sync for their life, and I will determine based off the song who I think would do better than the other. I'm going to try my best to remember to talk about who I think the queens would have eliminated in these potential bottom 2s. So without any more stalling, let's get into All-Stars 3. The season theme for All-Stars 3 is fan favorites. Everyone cheer for the fan favorite. Per each season that I've done this for, I think the queens that would get a favorable edit and a top 4 run would be Valentina, Adore, and Trixie. I think Valentina's always been a favorite, and I think she would be prioritized over anyone else. Also, if I had it my way and I could cast anyone to beef up this season, I would have chosen April Carrion and probably Delta, even though I think maybe she was doing Ru's hair by this time and it wouldn't be fair to stick her in here, but those are the 2 that I would use to beef up this cast. So let's talk episode 1, the All-Stars variety show. This is a variety show, which allows me to judge everything a little bit looser than I did with All-Stars 2, because that was strictly a talent show. So with that in mind, my absolute winner would be Aja, with Roxy and Thorgy being very high this week. And my bottoms are 100% Milk and Chi Chi. Chi Chi because of her performance being flat, and Milk because I did not love her paper doll thing. I've seen her do it before and it was fun the first time. I just don't think it translated well to Drag Race. Tammy Brown is a wild card in this challenge as we have no idea what she would do for a talent, but I think whatever it would be a little bit batshit, and I think I would be entertained by it. I think this is pretty much a no contest that Chi Chi would win the Anaconda lip sync, meaning that Milk is the very first out, and she will not be touching fashion and changing her life anymore in this competition. Next, we move into the Divas Lip Sync Live episode. And let me just say, this was an absolute train wreck for me to imagine because producers chose the divas based off of queen personalities, and half of these queens would get different roles than the ones that we originally saw. Based on the original challenge, I really loved Aja. She was very high for me. I see Adore and Roxy being super strong here. And since this was a runway heavy episode, I think Adore would have a better glow up from her original season, and that would count for something. I see Tammy struggling severely in this challenge. And honestly, I think the only other bottom might be Pandora, depending on who producers gave her. They could pull a Thorgy and give her someone who's not really set up to do very well. Thorgy and Chi Chi both were excellent in my opinion and did not deserve bottom placements that episode. I actually just was watching this episode earlier while I was working on this criteria, and seeing Chi Chi in the bottom shocked and gagged me. My winner for this week is going to be Adore. I think she would absolutely turn it up and turn it out. And I think the bottoms would be Tammy versus Pandora, the lip sync song being Jump for My Love. In a season where the girls were picking lipsticks, because I forgot to do this, I think Adore would more likely choose Pandora because everybody loves Tammy Brown. And I think Adore may like that chaos, but who knows? Jump for My Love is a perfect song for both Pandora and Tammy, but I think that Pandora would absolutely win this one, meaning that Tammy Brown is out from season 3. So now let's get into The Bitchler. The Bitchler is a fun challenge to imagine because I think that Trixie would actually be super funny with a better scene partner. This seems like a really great challenge for Roxy and Thorgy to shine, and I feel like Aja and Chi-Chi would struggle once again in this scenario. And maybe Adore would be a bit more finger on the pulse of trash TV like this and would understand the references well enough to be funny as heck. My winner this week is going to be Trixie, because I think she had a lot of good material. She just was absolutely cucked by Milk's presence and wasn't able to focus. And the bottom two is going to be Chi-Chi versus Aja. By this point, I think that Chi-Chi was a little bit checked out. It wasn't quite to the extreme that it was by next episode, but I see her not fighting as hard in a lip sync to Greenlight, and I think she would get eliminated. If it was Trixie picking lipsticks, I think that she would probably keep Aja since she already won and Chi-Chi was in the bottom already. And Chi-Chi kind of seemed like, all right, it's time for me to go home. Unfortunately, no matter what reality happens, Chi-Chi is out this week. So moving into episode 4, which is the All-Stars Snatch program, a very odd title for Snatch Game, isn't it? Snatch Game is always an interesting one because by this point, I think it started to lose its sparkle and luster, being less funny than in seasons past. In this cast, I think the only funny ones would be Aja, Adore, and Thorgy, with Thorgy maybe sweeping once again and winning this. I think that Thorgy is really funny, and I thought she should have won her original Snatch Game. If Valentina does Eartha again, I thought she was funny, even though Ru didn't understand any of her references in All Stars 4. Pandora was a struggle to watch as Kim, and I'm gonna say that that's who she'll do again here. Roxy might be a low safe since she wasn't influenced by Jeremy to change characters last minute. And we saw her Tasha Salad wasn't horrid in All Stars 9. So I think she's got capability of being funny. Trixie was objectively awful in the Snatch Game. Therefore, my bottoms are Trixie versus Pandora, with the win going to Thorgy. Now, in a RuPaul judge season, Thorgy would never have touched a win. She's Violin Jan, and every season has a Jan. Ru just didn't meet the archetype of this character until season 12. It likely would have gone to Adore. And I think of this group, I don't think that Trixie would have ever been considered to go home. I think it would have been Pandora. Mostly because I don't think anyone would want to deal with the rabid Trixie fans of the time. The lip sync song is I Kissed a Girl, and I think it would be really funny to watch since both of these performers are campy, and I think their lip sync style is conducive for this type of song. However, I see Trixie winning this one, meaning that Pandora Box is out of season 3. So let's get into the pop art ball. This ball was really fun. It's part design, it's part branding, and I think the queens with the strongest brands of this group are Trixie and Valentina. The queens with the best sewing skills of this group are Roxy, Thorgy, and Trixie. So this could go a lot of different ways, with Roxy maybe pulling through with her can harder than anybody else. I think the only clear bottom is Adore, maybe getting in her own way. For me, Aja was easily the strongest of that week, and she was never even a consideration to be in the bottom. Aja lands in the bottom if this was a Ru judge season, but thankfully it's not. It's a me judge season, so she's safe. I love Thorgy, but I fear that she would have too many ideas for her soup, and it would be a little unfocused. The winner this week is going to be Roxy, because I think her soup would be really interesting as a branded idea, and I believe that she would have the best sewn look. Thorgy probably could have taken this a little bit further and gotten her own way, and Adore is not a seamstress. The lip sync song this week is The Boss by Diana Ross, and I think that Thorgy might take it a little bit farther than someone like Adore could. If Roxy was choosing the lipstick between these two queens, I could see her choosing Thorgy over Adore because Adore is a fellow Latina, and I could see her having an alliance in that regard, and I can also see her having a really strong fan base that she wouldn't want to upset. However, this being a lip sync for your life, I think that Thorgy would sweep this one. So let's get into Handmaids to Kitty Girls, because this is one of my favorite return formats of the entire franchise next to season 7's makeover challenge. So let me really quickly talk about the teams and how I think they would fare. I think the eliminated girls are very clearly the Booger Bunch. I don't think there is any way that this group would be really synergistic or interesting to watch, mostly because Tammy and Pandora are here and they're not really great performers. Chi-Chi was a little checked out. Milk is who she is, and Adora would probably be the best one in the group because this format is different. And I'm talking the entire series with me choosing a winner and me choosing bottoms. I had a hard time figuring out how I would structure this return. So the guidelines of this challenge are one queen from the eliminated queens is going to come back no matter what. And I tried to imagine what Adora, Tammy, and Pandora would be like in this girl group and choose one of them to return. And I think that would be Adora. And then there would be a bottom 2 from the current queens, and one of them would go home. So of this group, obviously Adora is the one to beat. Based on Valentina being the winner of her own girl group, she's going to be safe this week. Aja and Thorgy were my favorites of that episode, and if they did the same lyrics, they're safe as fuck. Trixie's verse was cute, but it wasn't amazing, and we all heard Reggie wrote you, so I don't think that Roxy would be incredible in this girl group either. Which means that it's between Roxy and Trixie for bottom 2. And Adora is absolutely returning to the competition. Now, in the original lipstick scenario, the current queens would be the winners. I feel like the win would most likely go to Valentina. And I'm sure that RuPaul would do if you're not in the top, you're in the bottom bullshit. And I could see Valentina sending home Thorgy in this situation. And Aja did quite well in the challenge, and I think that Valentina would recognize that. I think she and Roxy would probably be pretty close with the Latina Alliance. And I think she would also recognize that Trixie's fans are not ones you should piss off. So she would send home Thorgy, being the easiest of this group to send home. And I would absolutely see her bringing back Adore. The lip sync song, however, is Nobody's Supposed to Be Here. And I don't know. I really think that Roxy is that girl when it comes to lip syncing. And I don't think that Trixie would beat her in this scenario. So that means that Trixie is out and Adore is now in. Next up comes episode 7, My Best Girlfriend's Dragsmaid's Wedding Trip. What a horrible title. Who named this challenge? It might be one of the worst acting challenge themes and titles across all of them. Who did this? I want to talk to them. This terrible acting challenge might actually be tolerable with this group. So based off what we know, Roxy and Aja are probably the weakest in the acting category, while Thorgy is very likely the strongest, with Adora and Valentina on kind of similar levels. Based off of Thorgy's cookie performance in season 8, I'm going to give her the win because I think she knows how to embody and capture a character, even though RuPaul hates her. And I'm going with my gut and giving her that win and having Roxy and Aja be the bottom this week. In this particular lipstick scenario, I see Thorgy sending home Roxy, maybe because she's seen Roxy falter a couple times. I think Aja, being a fellow New York sister, I think she might want to keep her for that reason. However, the lip sync song is Freaky Money, and I think that Roxy would be really freaking entertaining. But I also can't help but feel like Aja would be able to turn the party in a way that I don't know if Roxy could. So based off of a track record so far, I'm going to keep Aja for another week, meaning Roxy is out, and our top 4 is Aja, Valentina, Adore, and Thorgy. So let's get into episode 8, A Jury of Their Queens. The finale twist being a jury also complicates things because I don't want to speak for who these queens would pick in regards to their peers. And I think the jury twist was really just a way to make sure that Shangela did not win. I'm going to go with what I think should have happened in that season, which is the queens pick a singular candidate to lip sync for the crown while RuPaul chooses the second. And I will be playing the head producer in this episode. Based off a track record and who I think really deserves more recognition from this group, my queen choice is Thorgy. But I don't think that should surprise anyone. I love Valentina and I love Adora and I love Aja, but I love what Thorgy does a little bit more. And I think she was criminally underlooked in her original season and in All Stars. Based off of voting, I think that Valentina is very liked and respected and could get a few votes from this group of girls. I think Adore is very loved. However, she was eliminated, so maybe the queens would be less inclined to vote for her for that reason. And I cannot help but feel that Aja might get the majority vote, purely based on the fact that she just got off Drag Race, came back right away, and delivered such a strong package. To me, that feels pretty inspiring. And if I were a fellow competitor who got eliminated to someone who just came back, I would think that that was pretty strong. And even though Valentina is from the exact same season, I don't know if that impact would have been as great because Valentina was already polished her first time around. Aja was rough around the edges the first time around and came back stronger. So let's run some scenarios for Wrecking Ball because Thorgy is my automatic top 2 pick. Versus Aja, I see Aja winning the lip sync. Versus Valentina, I see Thorgy winning the lip sync. However, versus Adore, I see Adore winning that lip sync. So I'm going to leave it up to y'all this time. Who do you think of this top 4 would be the winner of the season? If it is Thorgy versus any of them, based off what you saw in this season as I've narrated it, who do you think would win? And that is the end of the road for All Stars 3. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are not too upset about me having a big bias towards Thorgy Thor. I think that Thorgy is great at everything. She's not always very good at Drag Race, but I can't help but feel that's because she's the Jan archetype, and Jans are not well liked. I could go into immense detail about the Jan archetype, and maybe I will someday. But Thorgy is a part of that. And I think that Thorgy is always underlooked in comparison to other queens, not because she's not doing as good, but because Ruin producers just don't like her. And I think that's been evident in multiple challenges. So we will continue rolling on through the rest of the All-Star seasons. Keep an eye out for All-Stars 4 as that will be coming up very soon. See you on the flip. Hey, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, make sure to click that like button. And if you want to see more, hit subscribe. Goodbye.